look at writing linear equations in different forms. Our question for today says, how do I write linear equations in many forms? And for our Tuesday group, it is October 27th today. Please pause the video till you're ready to begin with our lesson for today. So, number one, we are just trying to decide which form of an equation would you use if this was the question. Write the equation of a line that has a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of -5. So to answer this question, it's important to understand the information that you're given. In this equation, or excuse me, in this problem, we're given the slope of the line and the y-intercept of the line. So on something like this, we want to use slope-intercept form. Again, because we're given the slope and the intercept of the line. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. All we need to do is replace the slope of the line and the y-intercept of the line. And in this case, we see that the slope of the line is 3. So I have y equals 3 times x. The y-intercept of the line is -5, which tells me b has a value of -5. And last, we simplify our double signs. Adding -5 is the same as just subtracting 5. Y equals 3x minus 5 is the equation in slope-intercept form. For number 2, this time, the given information changed a little bit. Yes, we're given the slope of the line, but instead of being given the y-intercept, it just says it goes through the point -2, 6. So we want to use the form of the equation that's easiest for us. If we know the coordinates of a point on the line and the slope of the line, we want to use point-slope form. So we have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So we need to substitute in our values. So let's go in the equation. Let's go left to right and fill in the blanks from left to right. So y minus the y-coordinate. In our ordered pair, the y-coordinate was 6. And that says equals, we want to put m, or the slope, after the equal sign, so that's -1. And in the parentheses, it's x minus the x-coordinate, and looking at our ordered pair, the x-coordinate was -2. We just need to clean this up a little bit. We have some double signs. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So we're going to get y minus 6 equals, and then in the parentheses, we'll have x plus 2. And what do we do with that slope? When the slope is -1, think about what happens when you multiply something by -1. It's just going to make it its opposite. 5 times -1 is -5. 12 times -1 is -12. X times -1 is -x. So in this case, we're just going to put the negative sign in front of the parentheses to represent that slope of -1. And there's our equation in point-slope form. So at this time, what I'd like you to do is open up the Day 6 assignment in Schoology and complete numbers 1 and 2. Now when you're ready, come back and continue the video. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, complete numbers 1 and 2 on Day 6. All right, number 3. Write the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line that has a slope of 1/2 and goes through the point 4, -3. So a couple things happening here. The given information is that they're giving us the slope of the line and a point that the line goes through. Not the y-intercept, but just a random point. However, they ask us to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So this is kind of backwards from what we were looking at earlier. We said if we know the slope and a point, it's a lot easier to write our equation in point-slope form. But the directions say to write it in slope-intercept form. Well, I can't write it in slope-intercept form because we don't know all the information. Slope-intercept form says y equals mx plus b. Well, I guess we know the m. We know the slope is 1/2. But what's the y-intercept? Be careful. -3 is not the y-intercept. That's a point on this line. If I drew the sketch of this line, we know that it goes through the point 4, -3, which is somewhere over there. It's just a sketch, so it might be off a little bit, but 4 to the right, down 3. So that's a point on the line. And we also know that this line has a slope of 1/2. So I could rise 1 and run 2 to plot more points, or knowing it's a positive sloping line, it's going to look something like that. Okay, so there's my y-intercept, but I don't really know what it is. I know it's below -3 because I know it has to be below that point based on having a positive sloping line that rises, but I don't know how much. So I can't just say the y-intercept is this number and plug it into my equation and make it nice and short like we did number 1. Instead, what we have to do is we have to use the information given to us to write an equation. The given information says point slope form. So let's start there. Y minus blank equals blank times x minus blank. My y coordinate was -3, my x coordinate was 4, and my slope was 1/2. I see that I can simplify my double signs over here and make it y plus 3 instead. Everything else stays the same. So that's point slope form, but that's not what the directions say to get your final answer into. So I wonder, is there a way to get it into slope-intercept form from here? Looking at slope-intercept form, I know this. There's no parentheses, and y is by itself. Well, there are some things we can do to this equation. If we want to get rid of the parentheses, all we have to do is multiply the right-hand side out. So 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times -4 is -2. But I still don't have y by itself. There's that plus 3 in the way. That's right. If we wanted to get y by itself, we could undo the plus 3 by subtracting on both sides of the equation. That's going to give us y equals 1/2 x, and -2 minus 3 is -5. There's our equation in slope-intercept form. We can see in that equation the slope is 1/2. That's true because we already knew that. And now we can also see the y-intercept is -5. And you remember on our sketch, we kind of knew that the y-intercept was going to be below -3 on the y-axis, and -5 certainly would make sense with that. Let's look at another one just like this. Here's number 4. It wants us still to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and the line has a slope of -2, and it goes through the point 3, 5. Since the given information lead us to write our equation in point slope form, because that's what they're giving us, the point and the slope of the line, we're going to start there. So we fill in our blanks. The y coordinate's 5, the x coordinate's 3, the slope's -2. I see there aren't any double signs that we have to take care of, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase my blanks rather than rewriting it. And now I can work towards my goal of writing my equation in slope-intercept form, which means get rid of the parentheses and solve for y. So I'm going to start by distributing on the right-hand side. That will get rid of any parentheses. -2 times x is -2x. And be careful here, it's a -2 times a -3 will give you +6 when you finish distributing. Last, we want to get y by itself, so I undo the -5 by adding 5 on both sides. And my equation of the line in slope-intercept form is y equals -2x plus 11. If we want to see if that makes sense, draw a quick sketch of the graph. I know that the point on the line is at 3, 5. which would be about there, 3 to the right, and up 5. So that point's on my line. And I also know that my slope of the line is -2. Because it's a negative number, I know that my line has to fall from left to right rather quickly because it's a steeper slope also. So, is it reasonable to say that the line crosses the y-axis at about positive 11? I think so. It's definitely higher than 5. At this time, you should be able to complete numbers 3 and 4 on the homework assignment. So, you can go back to the day 6 assignment, pause the video, complete numbers 3 and 4, and come back and continue when you're ready. One more example for you. All right, number 5. We have write the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line that goes through the points -4, -3, and -5, 2. So again, our final answer should be in slope-intercept form. That's the y equals mx plus b. The problem with that is, looking at the given information, we don't know the slope of the line, and we certainly don't know the y-intercept of the line. So how do we do this? Let's think back to a few weeks ago when we calculated slope. I don't have any graph paper in front of me, so I don't want to plot these 2 points and just count rise over run. If you have graph paper, you could certainly do that. But we actually have this slope equation. Let's see if you remember what it was. The slope is when you subtract the y-coordinates in the numerator and the x-coordinates of 2 points in the denominator. If I apply that to this exact problem, I have to get my big fraction set up with my subtractions. I'm going to put the y-coordinates in the numerator. Okay, y is on the top. Remember, in every ordered pair, it's x comma y. So I'm going to subtract my y-coordinates. 2 minus -3. And then my x-coordinates, I have -5 minus -4. Now that's a lot of negatives. If I were you, I would go ahead and just use a calculator. Pull up your TI-84 calculator app, subtract 2 minus -3, and you'll see that it's 5. Then you subtract -5 minus -4, you'll see that it's -1, and go ahead and divide that out. 5 divided by -1 is -5. M, or the slope of the line, is -5. Now that helps me out if I'm using slope-intercept form or point slope form, because the slope of the line is in each one, m. Next, we either need to find the y-intercept of the line or find a point on the line. Since both of the ordered pairs would be points not on the y-axis, we're not going to be able to consider those as intercepts. Neither one of those would represent or give us the value of b. Instead, we can use an ordered pair to represent the x and y coordinates of a point on the line. Let's try using the first ordered pair. -4, -3. And we already knew from on the right-hand side that the slope of the line is -5. So in point slope form, we would have y minus the y-coordinate. Well, instead of writing it as y minus -3, I know by now it's going to be y plus 3 equals, this is where my slope fills in, and in parentheses, x minus the x-coordinate. Well, my x-coordinate is -4, so I know that that's going to make it plus 4. But that's point slope form. Our goal is to write our equation in slope-intercept form. So we're just going to do the same trick we did on the last 2 examples. I want to get rid of the parentheses, so I have to distribute the right-hand side. -5 times x is -5x, and -5 times 4 is -20. Now I need to get y by itself, so I undo the plus 3 by subtracting 3 on both sides, and I get y equals -5x minus 23. So the slope of the line is -5, and that we had already calculated. The y-intercept of the line is -23, and that we didn't know until now. So when you get to the last 4 problems, numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8, 5 and 6 are going to ask you to write an equation in point-slope form. For those 2 problems, you only have to take it this far, to the point-slope form. For number 7 and number 8, you'll have to simplify that equation all the way down to slope-intercept form. So number 7 and 8 is where we have to do the full process. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you for our next class.